If you find yourself slipping and you just can't bear it anymore, and all this is taking you by surprise, well, don't lash out or draw any wrong conclusions, because we're gonna put the spring back in your step with life's funniest moments. Because we've got squirrels that race and splashes to the face, babies that wobble, and puppies that topple. Tots blowing willy-nilly, and others getting scared silly. All on life's funniest moments. If it's got a skinned knee and it's making you laugh, it's child's play. We didn't believe magic was really possible until this girl said she was going to cast the spell of the hat that wouldn't stay on. And now we know when she asks for seconds on dessert, we'd better give it to her. These kids look like they're fooling around, but actually they're science prodigies testing out a law of physics that says an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Till it falls down and needs a kiss from Mommy. Connie won't give up her teddy bear for anything because it makes her feel comfy when she's upset, which is about to come in handy. This is the story of the Stanton twins, who did everything the same. They shimmied the same, bopped the same. Till one day, one shimmied and the other bopped. Long story short, one grew up to be a daredevil, the other an accountant. It's time for another episode of Really Obvious Television. Today's word is ouch. Get ready for some hard laughs. You're about to be easily amused. The cat figured the mouse had built a fancy hole, complete with running water. So he would be back, and the cat had nothing but time. Old Farmer Mouse is going off on his tractor to check the crops. Don't tell him there's no such thing as cheese crops.
TV, as you will see, he loves TV. Big screen's his favorite. Here he is. But we try to keep him from it, watch what happens.
If you really want your dog to stop watching TV,
it's enough TV.
We have one suggestion. It's called the off switch. This is cute. It seems Gus isn't really getting anywhere. But that's where you're wrong. Because he's not trying to work out. He's trying to get on the show. Well done, Gus. Well done. Talk about a happy little boy. First, he thought he was repairing a toilet. And then he wound up running through some sprinklers. Get ready to smile big. It's Life's Funniest Moments Unplugged. In retrospect, Brian decided an eye chart test really would have been an easier way to check his eyesight than a hidden clothesline test. A tip for your wedding. Don't include the phrase, "If anyone objects to this ceremony, please speak now," or fall down. You are witnessing the world's longest drum roll. This little boy really loves his dad. No ifs, ands, or headbutts about it. Someone needs to warn Ronald that first step's a doozy. You would think these moves would count against the competing couple. But when the contest is called Dance Till You Drop, but you just can't stop, well, this performance could get them right to the top. Claire was looking forward to her swim in the ocean. What she wasn't looking forward to was later trying to detangle her hair and get all the sand out of her bathing suit. And here's an interesting clip. This is one of those rare weddings when the bride and groom say, "Bless you," to the priest. This grandpa is very proud of his grandson, and he hopes he'll grow up right into the family business. Crash test dummy. A word of advice for Halloween: if you're going to pull this kind of trick, you better be giving away plenty of treats. Coming up, an acro boo-boo. And a new world record for doggy push-ups. When we return with more of life's funniest moments. Welcome back to Life's Funniest Moments. Good news, it's good times. Sophie here looks like she's making a bit of a mess. But actually, she's just being organized. That's our shopping list to make sure her mom picks up plenty of soap. And some new socks. Yes, Wally believed in justice. And yes, he wanted to help catch criminals. But no, he was not Superdog, flying low across the living room. When it came to love, no one could doubt Sonia's burning passion for Edward. At first, Katie was just hungry, but in an unplanned move of putting the bowl of food on her head, she discovered the joy of laughter and a career as a headlining Vegas comic. Katie, the cake-wearing crack-up. Yeah, the act is the same, putting plates of food on her head. But for 75 bucks a ticket, try that on for size Wayne Newton. It's weird to think this all started over who has the driest sense of humor. Although this proves misery loves company. Whether it wants to or not. Lesson for looking cool on vacation. 1, keep an eye on your cone. Butterfingers don't get dates. 2, if you do drop your ice cream, use your napkin to pretend to dust yourself off. Like this is what you meant to do. 3, don't suddenly cover your face in shame, a dead giveaway. And 4, if you really want to look cool on your trip when you're eating, make sure you're not being videotaped. Barry appreciates his folks trying to make his dream come true of being a giant stomping over treetops. But this is not what he had in mind. Despite repeated rehearsals, Mrs. McCardle's 5th grade class just couldn't get it right. It was Kiddler on the roof. Get ready to say yay, it's playtime. Sure, avoiding Wallace felt awkward, but what could Elmer do? He'd borrowed $5 for some nuts and didn't have the money to pay him back yet. And now that he had stopped answering Elmer's emails, he just couldn't let Elmer catch him out in public. This is Mike's version of playing frisbee with his dog. And if you think that's big, come back and take a look at the bone he had him fetch. The cat and dog agreed to get along better. They should have a meeting of the minds. But this didn't seem to be helping. Tired of getting broken into when robbers toss your dog a steak? We'll go for the latest in cutting-edge personal security. HDT. home defense turkey. We employ the greatest defense weapon there is, the element of surprise. Most criminals laugh when a turkey comes at them. Moments later, they're in handcuffs crying. Home defense turkey. Take a gobble out of crime.
A wild turkey herding a border collie.
Bucky loves showing off how no doggy training school could hold him, and he could leave whenever he felt like it. And the fact that school was voluntary, and that he was free to come and go, and that the fence was open at the bottom to make it easy, didn't take away from his bad boy image one little bit. Coming up, a waiter gets pushy with the crab puffs. And a man loses his seat on the New York Splash Exchange. When we return with more of life's funniest moments. Welcome back to Life's Funniest Moments. If you like the earlier clips, hold on, because this is fun. The dancer who's stepping is embarrassed. But you know who's excited? Crouchers 9 and 10.
Seems to be the way to get around.
An alligator taxi seems like a neat idea. But you better not forget to give him a tip. Boy, you'd think 3 years old was too young for a mosh pit. But these kids grow up fast nowadays. This kid isn't uncoordinated. He's just trying to meet that little insurance lizard. Here we go with the traditional tossing of the bouquet. And which one of these lucky ladies is getting married next? Well, apparently the one with the ladder. Maurice really hated the thought that he missed the boat. But through stick-to-itiveness, he keeps trying till one day he's king of the world. The klutzy waiter gave everyone a good laugh. Until he served the chocolate fondue. No forced laughs now. It's fakers. If you think this is a surprising image, stick around to see that calf's face when the udder pops. Wow. We thought it was just a bunch of malarkey, but that meditation bear really works. can't really consider yourself a tough doggy when you pick a fight with a stuffed animal. Coming up, a girl wishes for another dandelion. When we return with more of life's funniest moments. Welcome back to Life's Funniest Moments. Gloria heard you could make a wish by blowing on a dandelion. Well, she wanted a baby doll carriage so badly, she wasn't going to take a chance leaving even one seed behind.